Larry Butz is perhaps the character done the most dirty in the Ace Attorney games. In this video, I'll take a quick look at his character and his unfortunate Flanderization. Let's go. Right, so we first meet the dude in the very first case of the first game. This case shows off a lot about his character, and most of it is his worst side, but I'll tell you why I think that's okay in a bit. So, what do we learn about Larry in this case? Well, he's a womanizer for one. He's kind of an idiot who's in denial that his girlfriend left him as well. This case really brings out the worst in him. It's particularly bad when he's on the stand. He's pretty damn annoying. When Nick objects to a question that Payne set, Larry straight up overrules him and answers it anyway. He incriminates himself due to his own inability to act like a well-adjusted adult. But there are some good aspects to his character hidden under the bad in this case. He is committed to his relationship. He just happens to act like a 14-year-old about it. This is evidenced by the fact that he really did care about Cindy Stone, despite the fact that she was totally just a sugar baby. He made her a very intricately designed clock. That's another thing. He's kind of a smart guy. Like, obviously he's artistically inclined, but that clock must have taken some good engineering. He also seems to have a really good heart, and he seems to care for his friends a lot. So we next see him in Turnabout Goodbyes, which in my opinion is Larry at his best. Here's why. This case should be fresh in your minds considering we talked about it a few weeks ago now. Larry is essentially the savior of this entire case, but before that he'd gotten a job selling hot dogs at Gourd Lake in order to help pay for his new girlfriend, Beyonce's evil twin. Again, this shows that he is committed to his relationships. His big moment in the series, of course, comes during the trial of Miles Edgeworth. Edgeworth is declared guilty, but Butz comes running in an attempt to save him. If we go back, when Maya told him that Edgeworth was arrested for killing Robert Hammond, Larry must have thought about it for a good while. He had heard something that sounded vaguely like a gunshot, but it was difficult to hear over his radio. But his loyalty and kindness to his friends come through, and he rushes over to the courtroom to make the testimony that eventually saves Edgeworth. See, those are two of the words I want you to remember. Loyalty, kindness. In this game, Larry has both in droves. This even shows itself at the end, when Larry gives Edgeworth the money back. Money that he took as a child over 15 years ago. Now look, that's a really shitty thing to do, but kids are mean, man. It shows that Larry has grown up a lot since then. Of course, things rapidly go downhill when he next appears in Trials and Tribulations. Having gone through about 3 more girlfriends, he's quite desperate. This is where we get into Flanderization territory. So he's gotten a job at a security company. That's a good job actually, but he's only doing it to impress women. Well, that's not even the worst thing here. I can't even explain it that much. Just watch this meme I made.
Come on up.
Larry.
Oh, right over there, please.
He's about to lose his lunch.
Keep your hands right there. Sit down. I know who you are.
He also spends about 80% of his screen time flirting with Maya. Between Turnabout Goodbyes and The Stolen Turnabout, Shu Takumi clearly kinda forgot how to write Larry Butz. Butz's character is supposed to be a hopeless romantic with a heart of gold who's loyal. In The Stolen Turnabout, Larry's a creep who wants to get with a child and can't stop flirting with someone who is close to his best friend. They really forgot to include the deeper aspects of his character, and instead only left in the utterly hilarious, jokey aspect of his character. So, during Bridge to the Turnabout, you really feel like Larry has a chance to be different. He seems like he wants to change. Nope. I mean, he's integral to this case, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't really grow much past what he was before. He claims to be over his horny ways, but then he immediately goes after Iris. He claims that he doesn't like the person he was before, and yet he's still a nuisance at points in the case. Is this really the guy that saved Miles Edgeworth like 2 years ago? What happened to him? Flanderization. Google it if you don't know what it means. They've highly exaggerated his womanizing and forgotten to include all of the good stuff. Now look, he's not bad in this case. Especially not as bad as he is in the Stolen Turnabout. He does play a big role in solving the mystery, but I will say, his testimony section is a double whammy of meh. If you're a long-time viewer of the channel, you know I have my reservations about Franziska von Karma, so having her constant whipping with Larry's constant creep factor doesn't really add to my enjoyment of this section, to say the least. But I will give them props for carrying over Larry's artistic abilities into his character in this case. It's a bit weird to have them remember this aspect of his character and seemingly forget the others, but it's appreciated nonetheless. So next, many years and a change in writers later, we get Turnabout Time Traveler. This one is bad. Not the quality of the case or anything, but Larry. Okay, so he's actually a successful writer now. Good for him. He's helping out with this wedding, right? And instead of being a normal functioning human being and being happy for these people, bro falls in love as soon as he can with the soon-to-be bride. I'll make the argument that this is actually out of character for Larry Butz, even if you include his womanizing tendencies. In the first Turnabout, his very first appearance that is supposed to set the basis for his character going forward, he gets very angry when Cindy Stone left him for another man, and in his eyes was cheating on him. But now he's cool with being another man's fiancé? What the hell, Larry? This is so out of character for him. And yes, this could be negative development, but what do you think is more likely? Ace Attorney can suddenly write deep, dark character development, or they just kind of forgot and wanted to be funny. Ace Attorney is not great with this sort of thing. And look, in the end, this is ultimately a small issue, and I know some of you will point that out in the comments like I don't realize that, but I think it kind of points to an issue that Ace Attorney has with some of its side characters. As time goes on and they make more and more appearances, they get watered down a bit. Gumshoe is a much less extreme version of this, for example. But Larry is definitely the most extreme and obvious example in Ace Attorney. He starts off as a guy who's a good friend, but he seems stuck with the mind of a 16-year-old. By the third game, he's a creep who doesn't even understand boundaries. I don't think, and I especially don't know, if he'll be in Ace Attorney 7, but if he is, I hope they go back to the best days of his character and stop with this watered-down BS. Please feel free to share your thoughts on this in the comments, and I'll see ya. Thank you.